Nobodies.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Do you do where you do like the multiple thumbnails and let the algorithm pick which one is better?
No.
You just know you can do that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of it too. Obviously, you want to like use the same like typeface and font and all of them so that you for your branding.
But I could use ChatGPT to get like 5. How many can you do?
Three.
Three?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but a lot of people just do 2. But you're doing that to figure out what works best for your audience. You know what I mean? For like a lot of mine, I found that like having like explosions in the image helps. Something eye catching. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The thing that I want to do next, this is another thing that either having an editor or just more time, is doing like 5-minute shorts. So not the YouTube shorts, but like 5-minute actual videos, pulled from the podcast that are very subject specific.
Exactly.
5 to 10.
I agree.
And that way, I'm right into the meat of that conversation right away. Because the problem with the podcast is like, it starts here, but then like, what if the meat of our conversation happens in 20 minutes? People don't last till then.
With most podcasts, people are watching, I feel like, I know my personal experience, people are watching specifically because they know who's being interviewed. And they're invested in that person already. Right. So if they're not invested in the person, they may click on it if they're invested in you, or if the title or the thumbnail catches them. But if there's not just like constant, entertainment the whole time, then they're going to tune out most of the time, But like you said, having the clips with the really good shit, that's what you want. If you have a good thumbnail, a good title, and you're getting right into the meat, and it's some really good shit, that's how you get people to sub.
Yeah, I think so. And then to that point, my goal is to start going after bigger and bigger fish, or people that people are wanting to hear from. And I feel like the only way to continually get access to bigger people is just to do it a lot, get better, keep networking. And so like slowly but surely you do get somebody on that has a little bit more of an audience or a draw, et cetera.
Yeah,
and then people find them. Oh, who's this podcaster?
Who do you think is are we recording right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did start.
Who do you think is did you do an introduction?
Yeah, I never do.
That's cool.
Yeah, I do like the Rogan stuff.
No, I like that. Who do you think is the biggest person you've had on? Who has the largest audience? Who's brought the most value to you?
Probably this girl, Laurel Hamblin. She shared, or she accepted like a collaborative thing on Instagram, and I immediately got like 500 followers on Instagram because of that. But not so much YouTube, but like but I actually got stopped at the grocery store one day, and she's like, "Oh, do you have a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, yeah, I watched Laurel's one or whatever. I know her, and I was like, "Oh, cool." So she has a huge like social reach, but so far I have a couple like goals of who I want to ask on that are like bigger names in Boise. But
some local celebrities you could get on for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty much any local celebrity would probably do it, honestly.
Yeah. I had a Eric Gilbert who runs Street Ford on. And that was cool. Like I was actually going to share some clips again from it, but I think I'm still so non-known that it didn't like really get out too much.
That's the kind of stuff you could hire someone. There's even some AI tools that'll like take a long form thing and cut it up into little shorts.
Yeah.
But that's something you could hire someone on Fiverr to do, like find like the clips from it, and just supply you with a bunch of clips. And I know I've looked at people who do that, and they don't charge very much. It'd be like $20, and they would give you a bunch of like really cool clips.
Yeah, I think that's where I would like to spend some money on, is those 5-minute clips, because the short ones are, I feel like, decently easy for me now. Like I was using Opus, and
that's automatic cutting.
Yeah, that's the AI one.
That's one of those.
And it wasn't finding like the ones that I wanted it to.
Those probably spray and praying, right?
Yeah, and like nothing really felt interesting. And then I would still need to go in and edit some. So I was still spending like half hour on a clip. And I was like, I could just do it myself for half hour of time. And so that's what I just started doing again. Yeah. But if I had like an actual somebody just like, oh yeah, just check out, I want a longer clip on this, because I do listen through and I find the spots that I really find valuable, and then try to shoot from there.
If you have Cinda running the controls, she could also take down like time marker notes, like,
that's a good idea.
Right, this part, something cool was mentioned here, and write down the time of it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to finding the stride in the consistency of putting out one a week was huge for me, because last year I did like 5.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I'm not gonna get anywhere.
It's hard, man. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
With my channel, I committed to that. And then I think I told you I've had some personal things going on in my life. So I took a break for a couple months. Actually, someone just commented on one of my videos talking shit about the fact that I haven't uploaded in a while. Someone popped into my Discord server and said something about it too, but he was a lot more polite about it. But I for my stuff, like I don't do scripting for my videos, which I think creates more authenticity, you know, at least, you know, projects more authenticity. But I just kind of like do notes, and I have like highlights of like the stuff I want to talk about in it, you know, and then it's just like more of a conversational piece, you know. But where was I? It was something I was going to say about that. I was going to
doing consistency with YouTube.
I lost it. Damn. No,
well, so just because we had already talked about it, but until you get it back, so you're doing a channel. Say a little bit about your channel.
So the channel is called the AI Music Alchemist, and I've been producing music since 2011, electronic music. Okay. Before that, I was playing in bands. I played in rock bands. But I was. Do you know Kristen Stamper?
Local?
Yeah. She would know Kristen. Cindy would know Kristen Stamper, I think. But she, I was in her car one day, and I was listening to her. She was playing some music, and I was like, "What is this?" And it was like just industrial sounding, like oscillating synthesizers. And she was like, "Oh, it's dubstep." I was like, "Oh, cool." And then this is like 2009. And then like a while later, my ex-girlfriend and I were on mushrooms and Molly, or maybe acid and Molly is one of those two combinations. And
great combinations.
Great, yeah, I loved it. But and I was like, we had another friend over, and I was like, oh, I heard that we were tripping. And I was like, oh, I heard this music the other day. It was crazy. I'm gonna call Kristen to find out what it was. So I called her up, and she was like, it's like, what was that music I heard in your car the other day? And she was like, oh, it's dubstep. And I was like, what's a good song by dubstep? And she's like, no, it's not a band. It's a genre. I was like, what? So she gave me some artists to look up, and I checked it out. And this is before like really Skrillex blew up.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was more industrial and like dark shit. You know what I mean? Like Scream, Banga, Excision. I think was one of the first guys I got into.
Oh damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so then it became a to me it sounded like music that was made by Hollywood like sound effects artists, you know what I mean? So I was like, this is really what I thought it was. I was like, that's what has to be going on, because it sounds like Transformer morphing and shit, you know? Yeah. So I became obsessed with figuring out how to create those sounds, and I really ultimately wanted to apply it to like metal music, you know, because that's what I was into before that. So I went down that rabbit hole. Really became obsessed with sound design, because that's really what it's all about. There's synthesizer sound design and different techniques to make those kind of morphing sounds. So that really got me into digital production. And then over the course of many years, I evolved into other genres. I got into synthwave for a long time. And then I guess in like 2018, 2019, I kind of found my way back to bass music. And then the pandemic happened. My son was born around the same time, and I still did music throughout that period, but it wasn't doing as much of it as it was before. And then in 2023 or 2024, it was either the end of 23 or the beginning, and I think it was the end of 2023 when I first started using AI tools for image generation. And I was an early adopter. I was using Stable Diffusion before like Midjourney. Well, I guess Midjourney was around, but no one used it at the time.
Yeah, I've still been used it.
You what?
I haven't used Midjourney. I've used Dolly and then whatever Photoshop uses.
Dolly sucks. Dolly 3 sucks. And then AI music stuff started coming out, and actually like a couple years before this, because I'd seen some demonstrations on AI image generation before like even Stable Diffusion came out and stuff like that. Years before that, some like style transfer stuff. And I remember thinking that this is going to be a part of music, and it's going to make it so you can create vocal top line melodies and vocal tracks with AI. And for me, I'd worked with some singers before that, and I hadn't really liked the experience or the outcomes very much. You know, like in my opinion, all the really good singers are already really busy working with some big studios and record labels and stuff, you know. And there's some really talented singers here in Boise, but you know they're also pretty busy. And I guess I never was able to lock down any of the singers I really liked in a studio session. But so I realized that this would be available eventually, and when, like I said, when around the end of 2023, or I think the beginning of 2024 is when I first started using Suno. I think it was winter of 2023. Have you heard of Suno? So Suno,
or maybe you told me about it.
I think I told you about it the other day. Yeah. So it's a prompt based uh, um, like generative audio tool where you basically put in a prompt, and you put your genre in, what kind of genre you want it to sound like, in the mood, and if you want it to be a male or female voice and all that kind of stuff, and then you put in the lyrics, or you can have the AI create the lyrics. I think it uses ChatGPT. You don't want to do that because the lyrics fucking suck.
Right.
But it will, when it first started coming out, when it first came out, I think it could only do 30-second clips or 40-second clips or something like that. Now it can do 4 minutes, like just an initial generation, and then you can extend it and make it even bigger or longer.
Can you put in like your chord progression and then it sings over top, or does it just come up with something? And
I know you can do BPM. I know you can do key. Chord progression is not an option in Suno, but I think
key would be cool. Yeah,
key does, but it doesn't always do exactly what you tell it to do. But fortunately, with Suno, you can do like 10 generations really quickly, and so you just kind of just do a bunch and then see which ones fit into what you're doing. The best way, if you want to do something in key, is you'd get your digital audio workstation out and you'd compose a piece in the key that you want, and then you bring it in. You can do a 120-second clip, bring it in, and then you can do what's called a cover, and it will use that and create something based off of what you did, and it'll usually keep it in the key.
Oh, cool.
It will change the BPM a lot of the time, but there's a lot of creative possibilities with that aspect of it. So there's AI stem splitting has been around for a while. It's not great, honestly, in my opinion. Some are better than others, but when I realized, you can create like a song with vocals in it. Okay, then I realized that you could split the vocal stem out of it, and then you can have just the vocal stem. And this is kind of what I was thinking originally. That you could use AI to create good vocal top line melodies. And unfortunately, there aren't any AI generative audio tools that can create just a clean vocal line without the instruments that I've heard.
Oh, interesting.
You have to do my method, or maybe other methods out there. But what I do is I create the track with all the music, and I split the vocal stem out of it. But it sounds, you get some artifacts in there and some bleed through from the other instruments and stuff like that. It doesn't sound very good. Then I use other tools. I use usually Musicfy, which is a website tool. But Musicfy is based on a open source software called RVC, I believe is what it's called. I haven't actually used it yet. I've downloaded it. I've been meaning to learn how to use it. And I have a buddy of mine who is also a creator who does kind of in the space that I am, and he did a video on it. And I've been meaning to. So his name is Bragies, BRGAI' agent, AGENT. He's from I think it's Norway or Denmark, and it has something. It's some name that's common there, and it's like a character in like a story theme that he has.
Is that software then to clean up the vocals?
So that this is the thing. So it has a stem splitter in it, which is one of the best stem splitters I've used. But it also Musicfy specifically. But it's a voice converter. So you can you can train. If you have like an audio clip of your voice, it's like a half an hour long, you can put it into the software and train it on your voice. And then say you have another clip, you bring that clip in and you can convert it to your voice or anyone's voice. If you get anyone's voice, you can train it on it. So there's a library of voices that other people have created within Musicfy. They have their own library, which they have the what do you call it? Royalty-free voices, which they've recorded in a recording studio that you can use. But then they also have parody voices, which is like anyone can upload a voice of anyone else. They have like, Donald Trump.
Yeah, like celebrities.
It's like, exactly, yeah. Juice WRLD, which is one of my favorite ones to use. So when you do the voice conversion, it has the additional effect of really cleaning it up. It really up-reses it to the quality of the original sample that it was trained on. But a lot of times, most of the time, you'll end up with weird artifacts and mispronunciations in it. So then there's another tool called Udio, which is a main competitor to Suno. And it has some other features in it that Suno doesn't have, although Suno has been adding some more advanced features like what Udio has. But Udio one of the features that has something called Remix, which is similar to the cover feature of Suno, but with Suno, it takes a lot of creative liberty in order to create a whole new song and add all kinds of elements like full instrumental arrangement. With Udio, you can take the vocal track and you put it into it, and you can only do 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I think, which is really annoying. But you take the vocal track, you upload it to it, and then you can put in the lyrics that are supposed to be there, and you can have what's called lyric strength. You bring it all the way up, and it's gonna basically fix a lot of the errors and force it.
That's cool.
And then you can even go to like highlight a small section of it and then get even more detailed. And you want to do a few generations and see which one sounds the best. There's a lot of faders and tools you can use to really have more control over it.
This podcast is sponsored by Udio.
Yeah, they should be. Honestly, you should reach out to them. Maybe they'll reach out to us.
So when you're, sorry to interrupt, but when you're like a DJ and you want to, or I guess maybe more of a producer, and you want to like remix a song, I've always wondered about this. Are they using AI tools to pull out the vocals like that? Or are you able to access these sometimes?
I don't think very many people are doing what I'm talking about. I think what they're usually doing is doing just a stem splitter. But because there's so much music going on, you don't notice the artifacts and like the shittiness of it. You know what I mean? It masks a lot of it really well. But for me, working in my workflow, I want it to be like as close to a studio really quality vocal clip as I can. You know what I mean? But at the same time, when you upload a track, it asks you specifically if you have the rights to distribute this track, and if you don't, you're not supposed to use it. I know people do, because I'm in a bunch of like YouTube or Facebook groups where people I've seen that they're doing stuff they shouldn't be doing as far as that goes.
Music getting ripped off is nothing new.
yeah, exactly. Plus there's a lot of consternation and even lawsuits around the fact that these Udio and Suno specifically are training their models off of music that they don't have the rights to, that record labels are suing them, and there's all this litigation going on right now, but their defense is like, we're training the models off of it. It's just like if someone a human being was listening to it and learning from it. That's like what the AI is doing. I don't know if I know that there's been a ruling that in order to copyright music that's generated by AI, you have to basically put a lot of human input into changing it. You have to put your own work into it, essentially. You can't just do a prompt and then print it out and then say that's yours and copyright it. That doesn't fly, which is one of the reasons that my channel, I think, has a lot of value, is because what I show people is how to use traditional music production techniques to take it to the next level, to take control of it, to edit it, break it up into pieces and do all sorts of things to make it totally unique and different, and something with your own I guess like inspiration and you know what I mean?
So who's your channel for then? Mostly music producers, right?
Not really. That was my original plan was to have it for DJs, to show DJs, because with a lot of people who get into music production, they get discouraged pretty easily because it's so daunting and overwhelming.
Sure.
And there's other AI tools I haven't even talked about, but that you can use to really accelerate the production process, to help with like music theory, to help with just the workflow, and make it easier and quicker for you to produce something quickly and have it finished, and then you can upload it or play it in your set or whatever, So my original plan was to create like content to show DJs how to use AI tools to create music that they could use in their own tracks, but not like just doing a prompt and having that, but to use different AI tools to help accelerate the workflow process. But I realized at some point that, and of course, music producers would find that information valuable as well, because it can improve their ability to complete projects in a quick amount of time, especially professionals. But I realized that there's the market or the demographic of people who are using AI music tools such as Udio and Suno, who are just doing prompt-based stuff. They don't have any music production experience for the most part. Most of them don't know shit about music theory or sound design or anything like that. But a lot of them want to, and because of the rulings by the courts that you can't copyright music that's generated solely by AI, if they want to monetize it, which is what most of their goals are. A lot of these guys, going to talk shit about him real quick. A lot of people who are doing AI music, they don't have any music production experience and any music production knowledge, and they don't, in my opinion, don't really care about music, because if they did, they would already be doing music before AI made it so accessible and easy. You know,
that is interesting.
But a certain percentage of them, once they get their feet wet in it, they are interested. And I know this because I have a Discord server where a lot of them end up there having, they have questions. They want to know how to take it to the next step. They want to know what DAW to get. They want to know what VSTs they should use and how to mix and master and all those kinds of things. So it is opening up a whole new demographic of people who are becoming interested in music production.
Yeah.
Those are the people that my channel is really for. The mass majority of them don't want to put work in. And if you try to like suggest that they should, they're like, oh no, sooner we'll figure out a way to make that easier. That'll be solved by AI at some point.
I mean, I feel like that's in general, and like your average pursuit is the vast majority is lazy, and that's why they're not going to win. And the people that work hard at the craft win.
Yeah, but I agree.
I also, I was reminded of, my friend Julie gave me shit when I started doing photography. And she's like, oh, are you just another guy with camera? And it's a guy who gets a camera so he can take pictures of cute half-naked girls and then flirt with them and hopefully fuck. And I was like, well, that's why I started playing music. I was like, I wanted to learn to play guitar because that was the only way I could get girls, or I thought. Like, I saw John Mayer, and I was like, oh, this guy is getting girls. I should learn guitar. And then, so it was that, like, terrible douchey desire that then introduced me to the guitar, which then I fell in love with. And then I realized, oh, I actually love doing this. So I was like, yeah, I can't really hate on somebody for, getting into it for a shitty reason, as long as you fall in love along the way, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think John Mayer did it for the girls. He did it for the money. But that's when I used to work at Guitar Center, we had a what is it? King of the Blues competition DVD that used to play. Yeah. And it was just a bunch of blues guitarists competing to win this competition, and then John Mayer ended up winning it. And a lot of people don't know that John Mayer has another group called the John Mayer Trio, which is his real passion. You know about that? Yeah. He fucking shreds, man. And it's all instrumental. He doesn't even sing at all. The John Mayer branded act was just a sellout project to get rich.
Yeah, I think he's talked about that, because he did like the couple records that he didn't really want to do, but that was just to get him the money and the notoriety, so then he could keep doing the projects he wanted.
He's brilliant, because I used to think like when I was used to be into like underground metal and like post rock and different things, and I thought John Mayer was lame. I was like, oh, he's just a sell out, but then I realized, oh, you can sell out and do your passion. You can do both. You can do one for money and you can do one for your passion.
Yeah, there's Christopher Nolan only took the Batmans apparently so he could get enough money to start bankrolling films he wanted to do, which the Batmans are amazing, but like that's not what he wanted to do, but he didn't have the funds and the notoriety, so he took that and it paid off.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, you're right. I was just watching a clip today of Metallica getting interviewed, and they're like, what do you say to the people who say you sold out and stuff? And he's just like, I don't care. He's just like, I'm sorry that people like our shit, and we don't always have to play a million miles a minute, like we just play what we like, and it blew up. So, and we're on a bigger label now, but we still do what we want. So it's tough to say, because you're always going to get haters. Like,
no matter what you do, as long as you're succeeding. If you're not succeeding, if you don't have haters,
Yeah. That's when I realized I wasn't successful. I was like, I don't have haters. I was like, oh, fuck.
I need to go get some fucking haters.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's like the concept of like people will be your biggest fan until you move past them. And then once you're doing better,
jealousy.
Then,
people who perceive you as a peer.
And so then they're like rooting for your downfall. And some people will do it more vocally, some more subtly, but
it's funny because with my YouTube channel, I really don't tell my friends about it, or I don't do anything on my Facebook about it. Which I've realized later, I found out you don't actually want to do that, because they'll mess up your algorithm, because they don't really care that much. They'll go watch your videos because you ask them to, but it's not good for your algorithm. Okay. But it's more because so many of my friends are musicians and DJs, and I know that a majority of them fucking probably hate AI music,
dude.
But if they took a minute to sit down and look at what I'm doing, they realize that I'm not just doing AI music. I'm using it as a tool to really have a lot more options with production.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that's a good move. And also getting over the hurdle of like, that would like hold you back more from posting videos if you knew all of your friends are gonna watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might affect the way I do stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like for me, getting over these little thoughts or big thoughts of, oh fuck, if I put this out, they're gonna think this way of me. I mean, that's a hurdle that I constantly have to get over, and it definitely has held me back at times. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's probably good to just put it out to randoms and
yeah. Some of the, like with my stuff, I've looked at the Google Analytics. When I do release a video, I'm a part of a bunch of Facebook groups that are focused on AI music, and I'll post it in those groups. Some of them will reject them for some reason. I don't really know. But I think only like 15 or 20% of my views come from those links that I put out. Most of it comes from people from Google itself, just searching for like help with certain things, and then my videos pop up, which is, I guess, because a lot of them are how-to videos. So you put how-to in your title. That's what we were talking about, you doing how-to stuff.
Yeah, I've thought about that since we had that conversation. I thought a little bit before, but I don't know exactly when, but I think that's smart, and I would like to think a little bit more about it. But I do want to start doing how to, like, if you want to start a podcast, because like there's probably 3 people in the last month now that have reached out asking for help or advice or whatever.
That's good. That's what you want.
Yeah,
they're letting you know.
Oh yeah. Oh, like oh shit, this is a thing, and I have become more of. I don't consider myself an expert, but I've had people call me that. And I was like, holy fuck.
I think from what I've seen, your production quality is good enough. I would consider you an expert.
And I have the reps, or like more reps than the average, I've done 50 now. So I'm like, okay, so I've been established a little bit, but so I do have a lot of knowledge on how to start, etc. And so putting out that content would bring in a specific audience, I think. So I do need to.
A lot of audiences, because this shit's just blowing up more and more every day. You know what I mean? It's like I was reading I was watching a video earlier today about this is the year of content. That's what they were saying. Yeah, it's just it's becoming. I realized like probably 2 years, a year and a half ago, that content media is like the best. I think it's the most like reliable and easiest way to generate wealth in this country right now. We're like in like a gold rush, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with platforms like TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I'm really just focusing on YouTube. I do want to get into TikTok and Instagram eventually. I just feel like it would take more of my time away from the production process. But
definitely does.
But yeah. And I feel like YouTube is a good foundation. If I can build up the YouTube, it'd be easier to branch out in those. I think anyone who's not, because all you have to do is you just have to be good at something. You don't have to be like amazing at it. But a lot of what's popular right now is people like to even watch people who are learning something. So if you're just starting something, they want to like see like the beginning process, the steps you're taking to learn it, and watch you while you learn. They want to see the failures, the successes, the drama. It's just authenticity that people are craving right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that last year the big thing was retention editing. You know what retention editing is? Where you like have like I think it's been big for a few years, but it's where you have like a lot of fucking graphics popping up, and like the camera is like swinging and like
movement every 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. You're constantly doing all this stuff to keep people focused on your video. Where that's kind of, apparently, this is what I'm getting from a lot of different experts in the space. But it's, that's coming off as less authentic now. People want to see just like straight up fucking like laughs, tears. They want to see like just real people being real.
Yeah. It feels like that might have been a trend that isn't going to last. I have heard that there is all those differences depending on the platform you're on too, and then and your investment in like, is this video for a new person that's just scrolling and catches you on the reel, or is it for your people that already are invested in who you are? Those guys are more likely to listen to like longer segments or whatever. Like a friend is gonna more likely listen to a whole podcast of mine but a random person isn't going to just watch it. That's why the clips and etc.
Mhm.
But this is all learning, man. I think you're right with the whole gold rush, and it's kind of like a way to, like you were saying about like the way to make money. And I know there's other ways to make money, but none of those interest me that much. And the thing that interests me the most is creating and being myself. And so you can actually make money from being yourself and putting yourself out there, which is a new phenomenon that
exactly
wasn't available.
I agree. Yeah, the personal branding kind of stuff. Yeah, but you know, a lot of people think that, you know, doing content, your goal is to get views and monetize your views. My channel just became fully monetized, but I'm not planning on making really hardly anything. I made less than $1 off of views.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all about. I think we talked about this the other day. It's you have to have some kind of a product offering. You have to have a digital product, ideally, something that either, well, a digital product or a service. So either like coaching as a service or like what's the other word? Consulting, or having courses and other digital products, maybe even music or other things people can purchase. You know, that's digital, and if it's digital, it can be reproduced an infinite amount of times without any additional cost. It's just the cost of originally producing the content.
Yeah.
But the thing is though, and I know we talked about this, is like, but I believe, and this is advice from like Alex Hormozy, Chris Do, a lot of really successful content people. They're just business people in general, business and marketing people. But you want to first focus on building your audience, and in order, the quickest way to build an audience is to help your audience. Give them something that benefits them and do it for free. If you do that, you're adding value to people's lives. They're going to follow you. They're going to pay attention. They're going to care about what you're doing. You know, they're going to have a personal investment in you. You know what I mean? And Chris Do, I believe, is the one who said that. I think he suggested, you know, don't sell anything until people start asking you to sell them something. And that's kind of what you're talking about, how people have been reaching out to you to ask you like how to help them with that. Have they been asking you to offering to pay you for that?
No, which is fine. I just give like advice on where to start.
That's still good. You're adding value to them. You're creating fans. You're creating super fans, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I have to piss real quick. So on that train, originally when I started, I was like, yeah, I only really want to make my money from ads and promotional. Like, I'm not looking to sell anything. And even as I make music, I mean, like, what do I sell? You know, it's just like you just listen on Spotify. And I would be okay with like, yeah, you just go listen to my songs. And if millions of people are listening, you still make some money. And I feel like I'm not a business guy. Like I glean a lot from Alex Hormozy, and his principles are like dead on.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
But at the end of the day, my trajectory is in Alex Hormozy. Like, just build more business, get bigger. You know, just it's the game of building business, which I respect for people, and like that's what he loves to do. By all means,
I respect his perspective. It's not the way I want to live my life or treat the people around me, you know.
And for example, the only thing he really does is work and work out. And he's like, I don't want to do anything else. He's like, that's not for everybody. He's like, but this is all I want. This makes me happy. So I get that. So I want to build a life where I can create whenever I want and really, like, ideally not worry about money because it's just kind of flowing in on whatever project I'm working on. But now I do think, like, if I do the podcast eventually, I might be able to be in a position where I sell a course or at least help people get started and make some money that way. Because I don't think there's a lot of that out there. But
there are definitely people doing content on how to do podcasts on YouTube, but I feel it's not a saturated space. I think there's plenty of room for you to jump into it. And it was earlier today, I was listening. Can't remember who it was. It might have been Chris Do. Who was talking about. It was Chris Do. He was talking about how there was someone he knows who was saying that there's this kind of I guess not a formula, but like a way of knowing if you're in the right niche or not, which is like if there's two people in the niche, then you know there's not enough of a demographic or an audience in order to justify being in that niche. And if there's 10,000 people in the niche, then it's oversaturated, and there's no point fighting over the crumbs. But if there's, I think he said, I want to say 10 to 50. 10 to 50 is a sweet spot. If there's 10 to 50 competitors, that's where you want to be in.
Interesting.
And I feel like in that niche of teaching people how to do a podcast, this might be like 30. If I was to guess, like 30 like serious competitors,
Yeah.
Max, I don't feel like there's that many.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the idea of like you are the niche?
This sounds familiar.
I learned it from this guy Naval, but Kyle, who was just on, he was talking about it.
Is this where you
too.
take your passion combined with your skill, and that's your niche?
Yeah, but it could be, I mean, you could have 3 passion. Like Naval was talking to Rogan when he said it, but he's like, you're not the best UFC fighter. You're not the best comedian. And there's one other thing he had. He's like, but if you combine that, you're really good at comedy, and you're really good at this, and you're really good at podcasting, and you bring them together, nobody is good at those 3 things combined the way you are.
Yeah.
And I thought about, and it's just more of an argument of like, just keep really diving in and leaning into authenticity and being yourself, and like following the things that really make you spark you or whatever. And I was thinking about it with podcasting. I was like, there's tons of podcasts that are shoot the shit. There's tons of podcasts that are funny. There's lots of informational ones. But like they still don't have you, like you have your own character and you have your own circle. And then I was like, I don't know many musicians that do podcasts. Like that's a combination that I haven't seen a lot.
True, yeah.
And so as I put out music,
there are, but not that many.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
I thought about doing like a music production podcast for a long time, and there are some, but not a saturated space at all.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even do production per se, but just even as I go, like when you get like an actor on podcasts, like big actors, or like a musician that gets on Rogan, like people are very interested, but most of those guys don't have a podcast. So like to have like their perspectives all the time, like I think people really tune into that.
Yeah.
And then you can also, if you have an audience and then you release music, you already have access to people.
And have you heard of like the 1,000 super fans sort of concept?
I think so.
So this idea, and I heard this years ago, but it's still true. You still hear a lot of people talking about it. Is that all you need is 1,000 super fans, and that is people who will buy everything that you release. And it just making a personal connection with your audience is the best way to create that, I think. But if you have 1,000 super fans, then you just have to release content, digital products such as music. Courses might not apply to every super fan, but music, like digital comic books, you can come up with all sorts of shit that you just pump out, and they'll if they're a real big fan of yours, if the content's good, they'll buy everything. So every month you're releasing stuff, and that's how you're generating your revenue.
Isn't that where the idea for like Patreon came from, or or it's mixed, but yet like if you have 1,000 super fans that are willing to pay you $10 a month because, and then they have access to all your stuff.
One way,
and so.
It definitely plays into that concept very well.
Then you got $10,000 a month, and you're paying your bills, and you're just doing music and stuff, and so that's all you need.
Yeah, with 1,000 super fans, you just need them to each spend $10 a month. Yeah, that's what you're saying. That's
I'm surprised I thought of that math so quick.
That's good.
I haven't dabbled with Patreon at all. I mean, I literally just feel like I'm getting back in the game.
I started one for my music years ago. I had some people that were interested, but I just, with music, I was never able to consistently release, because it always felt like I was improving, and I would get newer stuff, and I would like my stuff I just got done like months before that. I was like, fuck that. I can't release that. Or I would go back and try to improve it. It was just, I could never really keep up with consistent releases. But with the YouTube, it's a lot easier for me to. I don't want to say it's easier for me. Every single YouTube video I do is like better than the last one, and it's not like I'm putting together like an album or an EP. It's just like singles. You know what I mean? Because that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean that's something I know that I'm gonna run into, and I'm like promising myself, like forcing myself to squash the perfectionism in me and be like, put it out.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. And Yeah, I mean, like you're always gonna look back on anything you do 2 or 3 years and think, oh, I could have done
That's
this
how you know you're
better.
improving.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. But yeah, just putting it out and then understanding that like the way I judge my music isn't going to be as harsh as the way somebody else, or I'm sorry, it's going to be harsher than
True, true, yeah.
somebody else judges
Mhm.
it. You know, like they're
Yeah.
not going to see all these little things that are wrong with
And,
whatever.
and it's hard to, we have such a bias over our own products, you know, the things we produce. There was years ago, there was this band in Boise called I Shot Them, and it's like a tech metal, math metal kind of band. And they had this song. I think it was definitely on MySpace, and there was this website called Pure Volume back in the day.
Yeah, I
I think it
remember
was on.
that.
You remember Pure Volume?
Yeah.
But there was a song. I can't remember what it was called, but it was really fucking good. I loved it. And then years later, they they re-released the song, but with a new recording. It was like technically better, like, but it didn't sound as good as the original. I
Yeah.
remember talking to the drummer, and I was like, "Hey, you know, I heard your new recording, but I like the original more." And he was like, "Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, you know." And it's like you know, if you re-record your track and you think it's better because you've learned all these new techniques and it's clearer and hitting these targets, you know, that you've learned are like better for like a finished piece of finished mastered production, but you know there can be something that was more authentic about the original,
Mm-hmm.
that you weren't trying as hard and it just sounded more
Yeah.
real, you know what I mean? This is our
Yeah.
bias about our own stuff, you know what I mean? We can ruin our stuff if we spend too much time
Mm-hmm.
focusing on perfection, like you said.
Yeah, and I think there is not even just on like the trend of videos, but in general, there's a ton of trends that are moving towards more authentic, a little more raw, real,
Mm-hmm.
live streaming, and even musicians that are blowing up on TikTok that you can definitely tell these are like lower quality
Mm-hmm.
garage kind of recordings.
Yeah,
But they like pop off
that's
because
what people want. A lot of
yeah,
people want that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely something to be said there. It doesn't mean you have to like purposely make something less quality, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, you just do what you do. And I mean, like in my, I'm trying to just not have any expectation as I start this journey again of just like putting out music. But it's just like, dude, if somebody wanted to take that song and make it big, or like a label wanted to take it or whatever, like they're gonna give you money and re-record it anyway. You know, it's like you don't need to worry so much about having everything perfect. You're doing it yourself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, if you want, I didn't even ask to hear your music. I want to hear your music
Oh yeah, I'll show
sometime.
you when
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
done.
But I was thinking, if you want, if you have like a project you're working on or a song that's unreleased or you're mostly done with but not totally done with, send me a clip of it and I will generate some vocal stems for you. If you want to provide lyrics, that would help, or I can come up with some for you. I'll create like a vocal top line melody that will be in the same key and BPM as it, and I'll send it back to you. You can chop it up and put it in your track or
Oh,
whatever.
that'd be cool.
It'll be yours. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of one of the things I want to do. Like obviously teach people how to do it. That's like my bread and butter, is like showing people how to do this stuff. That's how I add value to people's lives. But it's also something that I think I want to do for people professionally, maybe
Yeah.
through Fiverr or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, like, speaking of, if you had, you know, like, if you get to where you want to go, like, what would your life look like? Just making videos, doing this stuff, or actually, like,
So I want to do mostly coaching because
yeah, okay.
I want to do courses for sure and other digital products, but I mostly want to get, and I know this Alex Hormozy would probably fucking drop his coffee if you heard me say this. I don't know if he drinks coffee, but
I don't think he listens to
I know
watches this podcast.
he won't. It's very antithetical to like business mindset, you know. But I want to get paid for my time. You know, I want to actually like be doing something to get paid for rather than just like having like a business where I'm just putting out, because it can be when people like do this, you know, kind of what he's doing, which is where you give away free content, build an audience, and then you offer products and services. A lot of it's just, you know, they're just like when they sell their products and services, the idea is to, and he talks about this openly, and other creators do too, is you want to sell it for the maximum amount possible. You keep raising your price until you get some resistance, then you find your sweet spot, and
Yeah.
and that's like what is it called? The value theory, the utility theory of value, which is something is worth as much as people are willing to pay for it, or as much joy as it derives, or no, what's the other word for pleasure? As much pleasure as it derives. But I used to be a Marxist and a Leninist, and I'm not anymore. I'm a realist when it comes to international politics, but I still believe in the labor theory of value, which is that something should be worth the amount of work that went into producing it. I think that's much more of a objective way of valuing something. Whereas with the utility theory value, it's like, well, just as much as you can, convince someone that it's worth. You know what I mean? So for me, I really would prefer I guess it's just the old Marxist in me, but I really prefer to get paid for the amount of work that I put into it. So direct coaching, my idea is to like take on 5 to 10 students and have a goal, which is like, you pay this amount of money. I'll show you how to produce a track using an AI accelerated workflow that is a totally unique and original track that has definitely your flavor and your brand and your identity, like imprinted on the final product, because you'll put in your own work and your own creativity into it. But it'll be an accelerated workflow, and then you'll get have 3 tracks and then like album art and maybe like a music video by the time you're done. And once you're done, that's it. You have access to like all this other material, pre-recorded stuff you in the community you can have access to, but the direct one-on-one coaching is done after that. So it would charge a certain amount, and it would be I would obviously want to get my students completed as quickly as possible. We'd have like one-on-one sessions throughout the week, and then I'd have like 2 to 3 hour group sessions every single day of the week that everyone can be a part of. And then, but they would have to like participate in a certain number of sessions in order to not be kicked out of the program. Because if they're just sitting there and taking up my time where I could have another student, that would be a problem. But I'm familiar with how some of the other EDM like music production courses are. They're charged so fucking much, and they always say that they have these like novel secret methods, and then they never do. And it's just like producing the same way that everyone else produces, And with direct coaching, which is good, people want that accountability, and someone they can ask questions to. But a lot of these courses, and I've taken one of them, and you don't get as much one-on-one time as you would expect, and it's just kind of for me, like I need to sit down and like ask questions to get answers right away, because then I can move on and do what I need to do. But I want to basically create that for people where they can have that direct one-on-one with me, and I can like answer questions and help them reach their goals in the quickest amount of time possible.
Yeah. So if you're building your YouTube channel, you're getting an audience, you would ideally like start that course or that coaching once you have people already asking for you. Like,
exactly.
Okay, now I'm at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, I have mentioned in some of my YouTube channels that people can reach out to me for that kind of stuff. I've had people I've talked to who are interested, didn't really seem to want to pay for it. So I'm taking not really promoting that really right now. I'm just waiting, like you said, for people to start asking me to do it.
Yeah. See, that's I think my long-term, I mean, my goal is, if I could envision like a perfect life, is to be able to wake up every day and do the projects that I want to do and not worry about money, not think, oh, if I do this, this will make me more money, or I can't do this because I have to go make money over here. So, so there's a certain amount that has to come in for me to be there. But other than that, like the ability to create stuff and to help people without even an ask. And right now I feel like I can do that, and I feel like as you just grow your audience and your circle, eventually you meet the right people. It's like the luck is preparation meets opportunity. And the opportunity comes with the more people you meet.
And the more work that you do.
Right. And then your preparation is the more work you do. And like all of that practice, all the reps that you've done. So, I don't know what that looks like, but I do know that, if I fast forward in a decade and I have, I mean, let's just say like 10,000 people that are following my stuff. And then I decide, I want to drop an album or something, and I want to sell some physical records and stuff, then I can do that, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And if I were to sell a record now, I mean, I'd have like 20 people buy it, you know, so.
Yeah, I always say, I tell people all the time that my YouTube channel is my retirement plan. And it's true, you know, I had the goal of reaching 1,000 subs within a year, and I reached 1,400, but I think I could have reached 2,000 because once
that's crazy.
Once I hit 1,000 subs, I got one video. Actually, it was before I hit 1,000 subs. I think I was at like 700 something. I had one video. It wasn't even my best performing video, but I got like 400 subs just off that one video.
Oh wow!
And I took the last 2 months off. I'm just about to get back into it, but if I would have been releasing regularly the last couple months, I think I could have reached 2,000 pretty easily. And you know, it compounds over time. You know, like the more you get, the more you get. The more social proof you have, you know, the more people are willing or are interested in your channel. The more if they click on a video and they see you have less than 1,000 subscribers, a lot of people are less likely to subscribe to you. You know what I mean? But if they see you have like 10,000 or so, like, oh, this person's doing something.
That was the argument for like the people that were paying for like their fake subs or whatever, but then the algorithms figured that out of the platforms and it fucks them over. I just saw a kid recently do that. He's kind of a douchebag, and he's like posting all these, like, he's like pretending to be successful and being like, I'm going to show you guys how to make all this money. And he looks like he's 22 or something. And I was just like, dude, fuck you. But I was still following him mainly just to hate on him. And then I like all of his, he like barely had any followers. There's like 1 or 2 likes on each video. And then he'd hit me up for photos, and he was just like, he's like, I want to like make it look like I'm really successful. And so I was just like, I don't know about this kid, but I just quoted.
Do a video on that, man.
Yeah.
Sell him out.
I quoted him a price, and it was just like, and then I never heard from him. And I was like, dude, you can't even afford photography. Like, I know that like what you're saying is fake. And so that like annoyed me. But I just showed somebody the other day his profile, and then all of a sudden it has like 10,000 followers. And I was like, ooh, he bought those. That's not going to help him out.
Yeah, no. Yeah, especially if you have low engagement. But that's the thing is mine, I have like extremely high engagement. Like,
it's really cool.
Yeah, I get like hundreds of comments on some of my videos. But you got to always like respond to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At
some point, I mean, like that's another thing, like why I'm glad I'm practicing in this regard. Cause like, I feel like my growth has been super slow.
Sounds like it's good on Instagram.
Yeah, it's done okay. But like, I feel like it's still trying to find its way. I mean, like some of mine are pretty funny. Some are more informative. You know, I just kind of go with wherever the conversation goes. But like, it's definitely like as a YouTube channel, like yours is very niche specific. It's, you know, AI for music production. So that's a really good way to get that audience. And if I find a subject that I'm really interested in, you know, like 6 months from now, I'm like, ooh, I could do a channel on that. Like, for sure, I'll pursue it. I just haven't.
You don't want to spread yourself thin. You really want to focus on one.
Yeah.
I have a couple.
When I already have that problem, I'm like, dude, music, and comedy. And, yeah,
me too. Yeah, I have that problem. I have a few other channels, but I don't hardly put any energy into, none at all, actually. And that's, I did for a little bit, and then I was like, no, I got to focus on one. So I'm really focusing on this one.
Well, and then I'm interested with that too, because I've been doing Nobodies for about 2 years. And I started channels for my music, and that's very at least niche specific. Like I'm going to behind the scenes making music, recording, you know, just riffs and writing, and then the final products and videos with it. So it'll all be about music. And I'm curious to see if that grows a lot quicker. And if so, I would probably like lean most of my time into that.
Yeah, I think that would do good on Instagram.
Yeah.
And especially depends on like how you present it, you know what I mean? If it's entertaining I like I said, I came from doing music, but I wasn't doing video and stuff like that. I was just making music and releasing it and helping people listen to it.
Yeah, that's all I did in my 20s. And like looking back, I've been following some artists that are blowing up on social media.
It's the video, the story behind the music that really sells.
Yeah, they talk about their process, and they're vulnerable, they're real. So there's just like all these ideas I have with that. And then obviously the music appeals to a certain audience. And then there's one kid, his name's Abel Hart. I don't even love his music. Like I like some of his songs, but some of them annoy me. But I'm very fascinated with how he got big and the work ethic. And he taught himself music production. He's doing everything himself. And then when he releases a song, he's releasing, instead of like a really well produced music video for the whole song, he's doing small little videos for the chorus, and he does like 10 of them.
Is it TikTok or
TikTok and Instagram, I think, but like each one, and he mostly,
right?
yeah. So he just has a 30-second reel of a hook that's him dancing outside doing this one thing, and then it's another 30 seconds doing it, but same song. And so, you know, some of them might not hit, but then one of them hits on like an algorithm and pops them off, and then he has more eyeballs. And
well, I think that's smart, you know, because like when someone like, you know, people when you're sitting in the car with someone who has ADHD and they play a song, they're constantly like switching, you know, the song and let it play for a little bit and they switch, you know. That's we're in the attention economy where it seems like everyone has ADHD, you know, where you want to just have something just long enough that people aren't going to change it, because, you know, the longer you retain their attention, if you can get them all the way to the end, that algorithm really helps you out.
Yeah.
And people think that like this algorithm is like something that needs, I'm sure you've heard about this, but people think, you know, oh, I'm getting shadow banned. I think it's something that needs to be played, and you have to like work with the algorithm, and if you don't do the right things, the algorithm will fuck you over. But the algorithm is just people. If people like your shit, the algorithm will play it more often. The algorithm is figuring out what people like. You know what I mean? So it's like if your video is not doing well, just because people don't like it. You know what I mean? And a lot of people aren't realistic about that, and they get butthurt and they rage quit and stuff like that. But you know, it's all about just figuring out how to make stuff that people like. If people don't like the video that you put out, learn from it, do better next time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Beast talks a lot about that. Do you follow him at all?
I don't follow him like specifically, but his advice and stuff bleeds over in a lot of the content that I
for
do
sure
follow.
It's one of those things like people say we have short attention spans, but then podcasts are still big. So it has to be like, if you're on a platform that is for a short attention span, then it needs to cater to that.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that nobody watches a movie. It's just that I don't go to TikTok to watch a movie. I want to see something hit me or not. You know, I scroll. So yeah, you got to figure out like who you're going after. All that stuff.
You have to approach shorts and long format very differently.
Yeah. And it's all, dude, so much to learn. I feel like in my journey, I've had plenty of moments of frustration and just like, you know, like I'll be doing like decent for a while, and these videos are there was a while I was getting 10,000 views on Instagram shorts on different ones I would put out. I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting some views, but I wasn't getting any like subs. And then now
that's the problem with shorts and TikTok and things like that. You can blow up and hardly get any subs.
Yeah. But then I'll have but then now I'm only getting a couple hundred. I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what can I do better, et cetera. Yeah. And then there's lots of competing philosophies, you know, like you'll
different competing advice. Yeah.
So you're just trying to figure out what works for you, et cetera. And
the best advice I think I've heard about that is looking at videos that are related to what you're doing, and it's seeing that's what I've been the last couple of months. I've been looking at a lot of videos, like some of the videos in MySpace, not the platform, but in AI music. A lot of the videos that do really well, this is something I'm planning on implementing. They'll start with like, say they're going to be demonstrating something. They'll start with the product of the thing they're demonstrating with the song, you know, and just showing the song. So that's something I'm going to be working on. I've tried starting my videos in a lot of different ways. A lot of them I just like start by talking just about what I'm going to be doing. And I think that's kind of like a waste, you know, like some people are into it if they're like really dedicated to trying to know what the video is about. But there's like catering to your niche, but then you can also create the video in a way that's so entertaining that even people who aren't interested in your niche find it interesting and entertaining, you know. There's this, what's his name? This guy who wrote this book. He wrote a few books on how to go viral. Something Kane.
Yeah, we talked about him. He was the millions followers. He's like a Facebook guy. I read that one.
Well, he did within like 30 days, he got to 1 million subs between like multiple platforms or something, just starting fresh. Something Kane. Brendan Kane. Brendan Kane, yeah. That guy is a fucking if anyone who's listening to this wants to know like how to go viral, follow that guy.
Yeah.
But he talks about a lot. Like, yeah, you have your niche. He's worked with a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people he references. Like he references this guy who has like a channel where he tears apart designer like handbags and stuff like that to determine if how much the materials costed, how much it costed to make, and then like to talk about like, you know, the difference between how much they're charging for it and how much
that's cool.
yeah, and he God, I wish I could remember what exactly the advice he gave the guy, but he gave the guy some advice about just simply how to I think the hook or how to title it or something, and then the guy just like skyrocketed after that. And the big one he talks about is a guy who does some like financial sort of content, and he did a video that was how I bought a Tesla for like $79 a month or something like that, and then like just, you know, it's all about the hook.
Yeah.
You know, the hook is, you know, there's other elements like the thumbnail and the first few seconds like we talked about, but the hook, you know, that's what really reels people in.
Yeah.
You know? And the thumbnail is to complement the hook. And so that's, I guess, like a big part of what I'm trying to figure out is like, you know, what's the best hook? What's the best first few seconds in order to like back up that hook?
Yeah.
You know, that shit is hard, but it can be figured out.
Yeah.
You know?
I do think like I am encouraged by seeing people succeed. And like even people I know that I see success.
Yeah.
I think one of my struggles is like still so much of a generalist, you know, especially with the podcast. And so there's no like a lot of my like clips are like, you're going to get some piece of information or like, some sort of funny payoff, but so still structuring them in a way that's like making you watch it, a little bit of funny here, but then the big laugh is at the end or something. So it's just, and I still just feel like I'm just like playing around with it and learning with it.
I feel bad. This is a pretty serious conversation.
Yeah, I know, right?
A lot of laugh.
But I don't, that's the thing is I don't mind like I want it to like I want to have fun and be funny, but like so like for me it's like anytime somebody's talking I'm almost always trying to find like humor, but it's not like always. I'm very happy to have a serious conversation of something I'm interested in.
I'm a very unserious person normally, but this kind of, I guess the conversation we're having is very much about, you know, like our goals specifically in content. You should interview more content creators. Maybe that could be part of your niche, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can interview a lot of people who are in the beginning or intermediate stage of content creation, kind of like, you know, I would say I'm at the beginning. Yeah. But the people will grow, and then your network expands to more successful people along the way, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to talk to kind of anybody I find interesting or that has a passion like mine or is funny or just friends. But yeah, I just had this guy on I never met before, Kyle.
Do you only do it in person or do you do?
Yeah, I've only done it this way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I got to piss again. Dude, did you watch Sinead's and I?
I watched part of it. Yeah, it was like a while ago, right?
Yeah,
we did it on last summer.
We did it on the roof of Chicken Coop. And
what the fuck is Chicken Coop?
It was like like an actual chicken coop.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. It was a 2-story one that Johnny has. I don't know if you know Johnny, but
no, I haven't met him. I saw a picture of his arms.
Oh, right on. Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. We were high on ketamine, and like all in the moment, I was like kind of in my head, and I was like, I'm freaking out. But then when I watched it back, I couldn't tell at all. You know,
I was like,
I
had no idea you were on a chicken coop.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Speaking of funny, though, I was going to tell you, I was thinking about pissing. And so when if I go in these periods, like drinking a lot of water, like you drink water all the time, so you're probably used to holding it or whatever, I guess. But I'm like, I'm not.
I don't feel like I hold it. I guess a good point. You're pissed twice. I don't feel like I pissed.
Yeah.
My ex pissed all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess I have a big bladder. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know like what my deal is, but like if I drink beers or like a lot of water, it's just like all the time. And this one time I was selling solar and I was driving back and I like hit the back alley and I was like, I mean the whole way home, like I gotta piss, like almost home. And you know how like when you get close to your house, like it like ignites the mental or something triggers you, like you have to piss more because you know you're close.
Oh, dude.
So I'm like opening the garage and I'm at this point just painful on the tip of my dick, and I'm just like this, like, oh. Like, dude, I'm not, I'm not gonna make it, and I just throw it in park, and I'm like, I'm just gonna piss on the side of my house. The door's like still opening, and I jump out, and I like fumbling with my pants, and I just like can't get like because I'm rushing. I'm just like, and I just start pissing like in my pants, like against the side of my house, and I just gave up, and I was like, I just like leaned against the house. I'm like, fuck.
To change my pants anyways, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, dude.
I've had the same thing. I've had that happen, but I've had the same thing happen to me with needing to shit too, where like this has happened more than once in my life, where like I need to shit, and then like as soon as I enter the building where I'm shitting, I like feel it coming out, and I've literally, I swear to God, I've like unbuckle my pants like as soon as I enter the bathroom door, pull down my pants, and I start shitting when I'm like 4 feet away from the toilet, and it all lands like right in, and my ass lands on it. Like the momentum carries the shit into the toilet while it's flying through the air. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but fortunately I never missed the toilet. But I've
never had that happen.
And maybe that's not literally what happens. It's just what I think happens in my mind, you know?
I did shart really bad probably 6 months ago or 8 months ago. I was just driving and just had no idea what was coming. Oh, dude, I think I was headed to band practice or something. I was halfway there, and I was like, oh fuck, and I had to turn around, go home, like completely changed. It was just like, God damn it.
I remember years ago, my ex and I were on our way to a party, and I trusted a fart. My trust was misplaced. Yeah, I sharted on the way there, and we're just like, we're going home. We're just gonna watch a movie. No party tonight.
Yeah, dude.
There's no point.
Yeah, I wonder with like speaking of that kind of stuff with like content making.
And sharding.
Yeah, and sharding. It's just, like how much do you, like, you're probably not gonna catch that in the moment, but that's, I mean, like even that video is just like, fuck dude, you guys will never guess what happened. Like if you're making a reel or, you know, like for me, it's like, I do try to think of, and I'll go in phases where I do more or less, but if I think of something funny, sometimes I'll just try to put together a reel. And just, you know, the phone in hand, no cuts, you know, just put it out and like say some funny story that happened or whatever. And it does seem like those kind of things end up getting me more views and whatever than any of the clips from the podcast or whatever. Like we were in the liquor store. I was buying a bottle for my friend who did some work for me, and it was like, I don't know, 3 weeks into 75 Hard, and so I had Cinda film me, and she's like, hey, like I thought you weren't drinking, and I was just like, this isn't for me, you know. And it's not even to me, it's not even that funny. It was just like kind of silly, and that got a ton of views and like comments and whatever. And I was just like, dude, that was nothing. But then like some really funny joke from my podcast, and I'm like, is this like, does it look too good? And then it's going that other way.
Yeah, maybe it's the level of production, you know what I mean? Because if it's something that's more authentic is less produced, you know, or has lower production quality. You know?
That's a good point. I might start pulling back the the cuts, or just leaving it, like just try to have one cut the whole way through. Because for a while I was like cutting out like some spaces, you know, or seemed to ramble through here. Okay, that's not concise.
Yeah, I think you'll want to start with some meat and maybe have a little bullshit in the middle there, and then have it end on something strong, you know?
Yeah.
Just an idea. I don't know if that'll work, but
no, I mean, I think like all of this is just, I mean, it's trial and error. And just like working on it and learning and growing, right? Yeah. And the thing that I have to constantly tell myself is that there's no level of arrival that will make me satisfied or happy, you know, versus where I'm at right now. Like no level of success, you know, the only difference is if I'm making enough money and I don't have to worry about money. That's like a level of achievement that is,
that's the final goal.
Yeah. But other than that, like, that doesn't mean you're going to quit. Like, you're still going to be like, oh, well, now I need to work on this.
You just have to keep learning. That's it.
And I was like,
never give up.
I was thinking about it, like when I'm like, I just want this song to be done so it can be out. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Like, you're having fun making it. Like, this is the process and enjoyment. And I'm like, say this song blows up and you get 10 million listens on it. And you have people like, and you're getting a check from Spotify or whatever. That's cool and that's great. But like, you're like, you haven't, like, that's going to make you happy for that second, but then it's back to making more music. And then you're going to wish the next song came out. So just enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. And then even if you're a famous musician, now you got to worry about, are people going to like my music? I'm going to put this song out and people hate it, you know, and then you have to deal with that, you know, so there's always these like hurdles that you have
up and down and turbulence. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I write this a lot, but like enjoy the process. Like the struggle is part of it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's easier to maintain and build an audience if you're including them in the story of the process. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you just like, if they don't know what's going on in your life and then boom, here's a song, you're just like hoping it does well. But like if you're including people in the journey, then they're along for the ride, and you're always accumulating people. You're always building that audience. You know what I mean? It's just like the music. Unfortunately, you know, like the music itself, it can be valuable, but it's the journey for producing the music and the journey for distributing the music, the whole step of the way that people want to see. You know? Yeah, and that kind of audience building, I think, is much more likely to get you to your goal, than just releasing music and hoping that people listen to it.
I think that this year will be, I mean, because I want to do the podcast no matter what, and I really enjoy it, but I
think it's your foundation.
And this podcast, doing it once a week, can be done and do almost anything else, especially if I can have an editor or whatever. But even right now, it's a couple of hours on the chat day, which I do anyway. I'm a social person. Like I'm having conversations.
You chat with people anyway. You're a bartender.
All the time. Yeah, all the time.
I guess you're getting paid when you do that. But
yeah, but I'll be eventually getting paid on this. So there's that. And then right now it's just like a couple hours editing, but eventually somebody else does it. And so it's just like, you still have that going out every week. But I think the music journey will be an opportunity to really dive into a niche. And then also...
Are you telling that story about your music?
No, but I haven't yet, but I should be. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think I want to write down probably like some like key points of what kind of content I want to be putting out.
You can also be streaming it. That's something I need to.
Me and my buddy Brian talked about this. I haven't wrapped my head around how that would work, because he used to stream for like 8 hours a night, and he would produce beats, but then he would do. He said he was always like taking like. He's talking to the people who are on the live. And then I was a little nervous that like having a lot of people talking would then distract me from the actual making of the music. But I could just not look at the comments and just like,
I think you want to include people in it. You want to say, hey, like, you know, this, because I've thought about doing it. I haven't done it yet. I tried to do a live once. I did do it, but the audio didn't play. so I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. I haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, I want to, I think you should too, include your audience in the compositional production process. You know, like get some input from them. Say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? That's how you build more of a relationship with your audience.
Yeah, and I mean, like, who cares if it takes you twice as long to make a song if during that journey you've found 1,000 people that are following you. Yeah,
it's the content to achieve the goals that we both want to achieve. The content is more valuable.
Yeah,
because music is content. But you're working to make a fucking 4-minute track. You know what I mean? The content of including your audience in the compositional and production process, you can that's long form content that you can chop up into smaller pieces or do tons of stuff with.
Yeah, he was saying like when you go on TikTok Live, you can they'll automatically chop some of your like most watched spots, and then they can put that on.
I want to do TikTok, but this isn't a 100% reason not to do it. It is, I think, a reason why I think YouTube is more valuable than TikTok. But I've heard, and I believe this. I think actually Brendan Kane talks about this, that one subscriber or one like or one view on YouTube is worth more than 5 on TikTok. So like the TikTok audience is more fleeting and more difficult to monetize. And more difficult to like get a really like diehard fan out of. And I don't even like to use the word fan. Like I don't like being a fanboy for anyone. I don't really want anyone to be a fanboy for me. I want it to be more of a community, like with my content, because I'm like helping people. I have my Discord server, and I tell people like this server, I don't really think of it as my server. We got other content creators in there that I've made moderators, and it's more of a place for everyone who joins to help each other reach our content goals.
Right.
Because everyone's doing content in my server, you know what I mean? But it's more of like I think of people who follow me or subscribe to me as more of collaborators and like fans, you know what I mean? And I'll subscribe to any of them too. I subscribe to everyone who follows me. But there's probably some people who slip through the cracks, but
I like to think of them not as a fan, but like I'm the cult leader and they're the
okay.
I guess it is still followers.
No. But that's like even more of a dominating sort of like role over them, you know. But I like that. Yeah. I'll join your cult.
Hell yeah.
As long as there's sex involved.
That's the only point of making a cult is. I always say I was like, well, I grew up in a cult, so I know the ins and outs.
Did you really grow up in a cult?
It's pretty culty. Yeah, there was no name, but
there's no name. What?
Yeah, I don't. My take on it is like cults don't have names. Like they have it from the outside, but they're never
within the cult. There's
they're not like, hey, we're in today's cult meeting.
But they have a name for the establishment. Yeah,
it's normally like the church, like the Westboro Baptist Church. You
Westboro
heard
Baptist?
of them? They're like kind of considered a cult. And they would picket like funerals, and they like God hates fags and like stuff like that.
Did you all live in like a compound?
We didn't have a compound, but it was the same group of like 50 families.
But everyone lived separately?
Yeah. So it's like I feel like a compound is even greater culty
it's a
vibe.
certain level of cult.
But but like the church did own a school, and so like it can control.
They're responsible for the propaganda.
Yeah, it can control all of the information. We didn't get any outside information.
What other aspects of your life did they control?
Well, like
I'm sure you've talked about this.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. We didn't we weren't allowed to have friends that weren't that weren't in our community.
Okay.
Like
anything to do with your diet or anything like that?
No, but we weren't allowed to go see movies. Like just very strict and restrictive. We had to like read the Bible every day. Everything was
totally in charge of your paradigm,
mm-hmm.
essentially.
Yeah, definitely small box kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. And then there was like public shaming if you did something like bad, you know, they would like talk about it in church and like you had to repent and stuff. And
I'm a fan of public shaming, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think some shaming is pretty good. I was thinking about like somebody else talks about it, but like men do well with shame. Like if you shame me for getting chubby, I'm more likely to work out. Like my family would shame me when I came back from
like it.
No, and it doesn't really work as well, but it works for me to be shamed. I'm like, oh, fuck,
dude. I agree. I'll listen to people that shame me. Like, yeah, okay. Thanks for being honest.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you do, speaking of going back to fucking socials, how are you with criticism? Like, have you gotten any haters or any sort of...
I get hated, yeah. You know, with honestly, not very much. And I'm surprised because with AI music and specifically because like, you know, producers and other artists are super offended by it, like openly offended by it and hate it. I'm surprised I don't get more, to be honest. But yeah, I do get every now and then someone's like, sometimes people will just talk shit about the music that I'm creating, which is they may be genuinely not like the music that I'm creating, and that's fine. But I think a lot of it is motivated just by the fact that I'm using AI in it, and they're trying to hurt my feelers. But then you have a lot of people, not a lot of people, very, very few surprisingly, but people, there's more haters in the Facebook groups who are generally just hating on like every post or anything that anyone has to say about AI music. You get people who are like music producers who go into the groups just to talk shit. I honestly kind of like agree with them half the time because they're just talking shit about how lazy the people are in the groups, you know? Yeah, I get some haters, but it's really fewer than I think there should be.
Yeah.
I would probably like it if there were more haters, honestly.
Okay, so you're pretty comfortable with it.
Oh yeah.
Because that's one of the things I asked myself when I went down this road. Is just like, can you handle when you have more eyeballs on you?
Criticism in general. And I think criticism, you know, even if someone's being an asshole, a lot of times there's things that you can learn from them about yourself. And I think it's important to be open to criticism and to accept it. You know, if it's also just a real big beta male thing to like just get offended by criticism. You know, like I don't want to get offended by anything. I don't want to get bent out of shape. I don't want to get because usually if it's not in good faith, the point of it is to elicit like an emotional response because they're not feeling good for some reason. They got some chip on their shoulder. They got something going on, and they want to bring you on their level. You know, so knowing that they're trying to make me upset, I don't want to give them that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
But instead, I'll just like listen to what they say and say, thank you for sharing that with me. I'll analyze it. You know, I'll look, I'll try to figure out if there's anything, any meat in what they're saying, you know, anything valuable, and try to find a way to improve my craft or whatever it is I'm working on.
Yeah, because that's where, I mean, I know it will come. And I've got a little bit of hate, and it's mostly just funny to me. Mm-hmm. But I think that when you put out art, there is this sense of attachment. And so if somebody shits on your art, you know, inevitably you'll be like, ooh.
But who are they?
Exactly.
If some big content creator I follow came down and said some shit, it would probably hurt me a little bit, but it'd also be like, well, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
You know, there's value in the criticism.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of, I read two different comedians. No, I read Kevin Hart's book. I forget what it was, but he talks about how, I don't even like listen to his comedy, but I'm fascinated by like just him. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how there's just like this big name dude in New York that like he'd already been working for like 5 years. So like, I think you're ready to like perform in front of him. Like he'll really be able to like put you onto the net. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he performs, and the guy's just like talks to him after. He's like, you need to find something else to do. He's like, you will never make it. and he was just like really bummed out. You know, like this guy was the guy. And then his friend was just like, why are you listening to him? He's like, you're the one who said I should go here. And he's just like, dude, tell him to shut the fuck up. Just go work harder. But it's still like, yeah, I mean, obviously he's huge now, but it's like, it doesn't really matter who doesn't like your shit. Mm-hmm. As long as you're willing to keep putting in the work.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. You see that, and I don't want to like totally switch gears, but you see that a lot in the UFC. You see fighters who lose, and there's different ways that they deal with losing. Some of them will change weight classes or they'll retire, you know, but some of them are like, fuck that, you know, I'm going to fucking go back. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to figure out how to do this better next time, or beat the person, you know, and it's that tenacity and that flappable desire to overcome the obstacle, you know, that really produces champions. You know, everyone wants to be a champion.
And the crazy thing with
not
like
everyone, but
that's the thing. Like I like with the stuff that I'm making, like I don't like in the UFC, you kind of are on the way to being the best in like a weight class. You know,
you're supposed to be. Right. Otherwise, you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So there is the epitome. Like you have to beat this guy, then this guy, then this guy. And if you lose, you like have to beat him. Mm-hmm. Versus like in creation, you know, you just like
you're against your audience.
Yeah, you're like if I win, that doesn't mean you lose. Like so that's what I like about.
In a way, it kind of does if someone in your niche, you know what I mean? If you blow it bigger than someone in your niche, then it is kind of like a
I mean, if I was taking all the money, but I guess I believe that it's like what is it? Famine mentality or lack mentality is scarcity, like scarcity mindset. And it's just like, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to share this information for free because what if other people use it and then they get bigger than me? It's just like, you think that like they're going to take all the money in the world. Like there's always going to be opportunity. Yeah. And to me, I'm like, I'm not trying to be the best guitar player. I'm not the best singer. I just like to make music I like, you know, same with podcasting. I'm like, I don't need to be the biggest podcast. That'd be nice. I just want like to have cool conversations and people find it fun, interesting, funny, and I get to do it. So I think that's different than the UFC. Like I don't think I ever have the tenacity or balls to like get to that level of like seriousness on something. But I do understand it takes that if you're gonna fucking do that shit.
Yeah, discipline and dedication. Yeah. You know, it is hard because those guys. I don't want to like say I don't have the discipline or the dedication to achieve my goals, but I'm definitely significantly less casual or significantly more casual than the guys who are doing that for sure. But you know, it's fortunately, you know, our space is not about, like you said, it's not about being the absolute best, you know, greatest, you know, like no one can beat you. You know what I mean? It's about achieving our goal of having a career out of our passions and our skills, the things we develop. And that's the thing is I was talking about earlier is, you know, like it's just about anyone can create a career in the content market.
Yeah.
You know, it's You just have to know something or be willing to learn something well enough that you can teach it to other people. There's entertainment, there's other things you can do, but I really think, and based on my own experience, that teaching other people is the easiest and most like surefire, guaranteed way to do it. If you can teach, you're adding value to people's lives. Entertainment adds value to people's lives for sure. That's it's extremely saturated space. If you can define a niche and teach people, that's the best way.
Yeah,
and you don't have to.
It's also rewarding. I mean, anytime I help somebody, just even
it's good for the soul.
Yeah, really good. I mean, and I don't have kids. I probably will never have kids, and I kind of, when I made that decision, I realized it's like, oh, you're not going to find the satisfaction of investing into your kid's life that normal people do that have kids, right? So I was like, you need to, as you grow and learn and develop, you need to be focused on mentoring and putting back into a younger generation or other people who want to learn. And the only way to help people is like to first do it yourself and then to help other people along the way. So I'm very committed, even if it's like just because I like doing it, to like help other people along the way, whether it's a new musician or if it's new podcasts or whatever. But yeah, it does feed the soul.
Let me know if this is too personal. Why don't you want to have kids?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I just
don't want the responsibility. Don't want to lose focus on your personal goals.
I don't have any desire. Like there's no, like every time I like go and see my nieces and nephews, it's like good to see them, and then I'll be like, yeah, I'm good on that. And there's something about like I just always, it was like it's just immediate no. Like it's just like this. That's why I'm saying I don't really know, because there's not just one thing. I mean, there is, like what you said. I like that my freedom. I like being independent. I'm a very independent person. Like I don't really want to live with anybody. I feel like I would get suffocated if I lived with a lover. I like freedom to just like wake up, not talk to anybody all day, work on my shit for a while. It's like,
Yeah, and don't you care about the fact that the whites are getting replaced?
The whites?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
White is right though. I'm not even wearing any white today. I always say that every time I wear white.
Yeah. But no, I was kidding. But I actually I was in the same boat. I wanted to be single for the rest of my life. I wanted to basically be non-monogamous and just do whatever I wanted to do without anyone telling me what to do. I was casually pursuing a career in music, and it just like had a casual lifestyle, very low responsibility lifestyle in general. But ended up happening anyways. And for me personally, it changed my life. My son. If I could go back at the time when it happened, I was very pissed off that I was losing my old life and everything was going to change, and everything did change. But super fucking grateful.
Yeah,
it ended up being the best thing ever happened to me. And I can't imagine what my life would be like if I didn't have my son and his siblings in my life.
That's interesting because like I've always thought that if I had a kid, as soon as that kid pops out, I would immediately be like, yeah, I'm so happy I did this, and I would never go back.
Some guys don't, but you I can tell you what.
But because that's not an option, I still have the choice to go this way or this way. And so I still feel like this is the better choice for me. That said,
I could sell you on it, but I won't.
Yeah, no, I mean, plenty of people do, because it's just,
people try to talk you into it?
And people try to talk
non-family?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. And people try to talk me into monogamy as well. So, and I just personally think that like this is what I want right now. I also could change my mind, right? Like if you fast forward 20 years from now, maybe I do want just one person. But like right now I don't, so like it doesn't seem to make any sense. Yeah. I also could decide I want a career in something else. So I'm very happy to be adaptable. Like I try not to be super hard nosed where I'm like, this is the way forever.
That creates the opportunity for progress.
Yeah. I've definitely changed my mind on plenty of things before. I mean, I was never a Marxist. Anyway,
but people who hold the same beliefs from like the time they were like young adults or even teenagers. What the fuck, if you're not looking back at yourself 5 years in the past and thinking I was a fucking idiot back then you're not making progress,
that's a good point. constantly feel that way. Every
Yeah.
3 to 5 years, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah, you should, you know. I mean, the older I get, the more I feel settled, and like some things are like I'm not letting go and they're not changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely that through my 20s, that was a big thing, and I was always like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
You know, just a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, just like to me, this like we only have one of these that we know. I mean, like I probably believe in reincarnation.
You say these, you're talking about life.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, you and I each have a life.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to say it. But yeah, so like if I only have one, like I want to do as many things as possible that I like to do. I want to like play music because I like playing music. I want to talk to people. I want to at least chase a career that like I think I can be successful at and try to do something cool. I want to meet a lot of people. I want to travel, you know, so it's like to do those things, you got to work hard, but you also got to enjoy it, you know, and not get stuck in just
because you only have one life.
Yeah. I don't want to only get stuck in hustle culture and like not enjoy all these things along the way. But I do want to do a lot of stuff. So I am going to have to hustle, to do, you know, some of the things I want to do. But
yeah. I used to be, as I said, and as you joked about, I used to be a Marxist. So I was a very materialist. I was an atheist too. And I'm not saying like, first of all, I'm not saying I reject Marxism. I think there's a lot of valuable insights about it, but I'm this is gonna sound weird. I think most people, when they think of like the UFO phenomenon, they think of it as like aliens and spaceships, but there's a lot of other concepts and ideas affiliated with the phenomenon that suggest that there is something more to life other than just the material reality. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And kind of like you referenced reincarnation. That's actually something that pretty much anyone who's deep into the phenomenon accepts is probably what's happening.
Sure.
But yeah, I used to reject idealism and not believe in anything that wasn't based on like material reality. But I've come to accept, at least, I'm not saying I believe anything for certain. I'm extremely agnostic about things, and I'm considering a lot of different possibilities. But I've definitely believed, only in the past few years, I've come to believe that there may be something after this life.
Yeah.
Or some deeper thing that's going on, and there's a lot of different ways that could go. But all signs point to that there is something. And you're seeing a lot of stuff pop up in like right now it's considered fringe science, but there's real research backing this kind of stuff up. Like you've heard of the telepathy tapes.
Yeah, I've been meaning to listen to them.
Yes, stuff like that, and different things that are being discovered in different realms of the science that mainstream sciences have a hard time accepting.
Right.
But just the UFO phenomenon itself,
Sure.
you have these craft that are appear to be physical objects that are exhibiting characteristics that are impossible within the framework of mainstream science.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some shit going on that our current models cannot explain.
Right.
But yeah, we could go a lot of different directions with the statements I just made. But in general, I'm just saying that shit's a lot weirder than I used to think.
Yeah.
Shit is getting, since Donald Trump got elected in 2016. Shit has gotten weirder every fucking year. We're living in the fucking Twilight Zone. It's crazy.
It does seem pretty weird. Yeah, I mean, the same. I was atheist. I'm probably more spiritual now, and definitely think there's more behind just the physical. But I don't have any like hard lines or takes on,
I used to laugh at my friends, all my hippie friends who have like crystals laying out on the counter and stuff. I was like, thought that shit was so dumb, but now I'm like, well, there might be something to that.
Yeah. Those are those things where like I'm not into it, but I like anytime I kind of hear a good argument about it, or like I wasn't even into astrology. And then people like when
I'm tempted to get into it.
When everything I do pegs me like perfectly to a Leo, I'm just like, God damn it.
Well, what I used to do is like I remember I was at a party with a bunch of friends, and there was an astrology book, and I like pulled out the book and I read like some other signs explanation, and everyone was like, "Oh, that is so you." So I was like, "No, motherfuckers, that ain't me. That's a different sign." I feel like that stuff is generally so general. But I guess the question I have is we have like the Julian calendar, the 12 months, but the original calendar
like 13, right?
was the Gregorian calendar, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about this stuff, so please no one like get bent out of shape if I'm not correct about it. But I want to know, should astrology be applied differently, or is it bunk because it's applied to the Julian calendar? You know, I don't know. I guess I could probably look it up, or maybe someone could explain that to me. But so I have a hard time trusting astrology as it is right now.
Yeah, I mean I agree, because same with for example manifesting.
Actually, I guess because the astrological signs, they overlap. You'd have like one that goes through a month and then through another month. Is it still according to the Gregorian calendar? You don't know.
I don't know, okay. But I know they like switched it, and yeah, it does seem to like have conflicting parts, and so like, oh no, this one's right, oh no, that one's right, you know. But so for example, manifesting and putting out, like asking the universe for what you want, and
the secret.
Yeah, stuff like that. In a lot of ways, I resonate with some of these principles, and also like frequencies are real, and like even positive. It just like when you approach life in a positive, thankful, with gratitude. You know, it's like you attract more love and good things to you. That versus when if you're operating at a lower level and negative and complaining, you were definitely going to push things away, right? Like those things seem real. And then some people go really deep into manifesting, and then but then I also think, what about these fucking kids that like were born in, you know, these cobalt mines, and they're like, their one wish is like, please get me the fuck out of here. Can I go anywhere else? And you're like, why are they not
able to manifest?
Yeah. So it's like, oh, it's easy for us to say in the West, or, you know, in our blessed life, oh yeah, I just manifested this. So it's like, so I get very conflicted, even just those kind of things where I'm like, yeah, I do think you can attract some good things into your life. And I'm like, yeah, but you are already in this blessed setting.
But at the same time, you know, the people in the kids in the cobalt mine, their only experience is like, you know, negative. And so you'd think from their learned experience, they would have negative expectations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if they want something better, they would have negative expectations. There's this, have you heard of the thunderstorm generator? This guy named Malcolm Bindle from, I think he's from Australia, but he discovered oil in Tasmania. And then there was this thing that happened. He actually did a podcast with Joe Rogan. It's an unreleased podcast. Joe Rogan had him on with Randall Carlson. You know who Randall Carlson is? So Randall Carlson brought him on because years ago, Randall Carlson, someone told him he needed to check out this technology that this guy Malcolm Bindle was working on. And I think there's a few different technologies, but the main one that is like being pushed right now is the thunderstorm generator, which is this device that uses sacred geometry you can hook it up to the exhaust of a car, and it takes the carbon gases that are coming out and it converts it into breathable air, which is 20% oxygen and then some hydrogen and or some helium and other gases. I'm not really sure what comprises, you know, the typical air that we breathe in like a pristine breathable air environment. But this has been tested by there a bunch of different companies and also state organizations in India, Indonesia, and some other places. There's this company based out of, I think it's in London or England, definitely northern Europe, northwestern Europe, where they, oh no, maybe is it America? No, I think it's in Europe. They're they're an engineering company that develops materials that are like coating materials for heat treatment for different aerospace jets, and maybe even crafts that go into like orbit. Sure. I'm not really sure, but they're an engineering company. I looked them up to make sure it was 100% legit, and they've done testing using a variety of instruments to verify that this is doing what it's claimed to be doing, and what it's doing is transmutation. It's turning some elements into other elements, which is supposed to be impossible according to science. I know that Randall Carlson on one Joe Rogan episode that did not include Malcolm Bindle, he mentioned that Mazda was working on it, and there was a big blowback from that because Mazda didn't want people to know it, but it ended up actually boosting their stock price, so they were not super pissed about it. And you can look it up on Google. He's talked openly about this. But he's this guy Malcolm has also created this thing called the plasmoid unification model, which is this diagram which shows the different frequencies of different colors. It also involves astrology somehow. I've looked at it, but I just don't even know what I'm looking at. It looks fucking crazy. and frequencies of sound, frequencies of matter, I believe. Like what he's saying is that, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure what he's saying is that everything in the universe, like the universe is really just ether. It's this gas, and that vibrational frequency converts the ether into matter. It's like, have you ever seen like a demonstration of cymatics? It's like where you get like a speaker or some sort of platform, and then you put sound through it, and you put sand on it, and it creates a geometrical pattern. So he's saying that that's what's happening. The sun is creating in our star system. The sun is creating the frequency that's causing all the other bodies of matter to form into the matter that they're in. You know who Terrence Howard is? Yeah. So obviously he got reamed when Joe Rogan brought who's that scientist?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
His name. He's got a brother too.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
He has the same last name, I think, as that guy who got Me Too'd, the first Me Too guy.
Fuck. I listened to both of those. Brett Weinstein.
Yeah, Weinstein. Yeah.
But his brother's name is Eric Weinstein.
Okay. I think it was Brett Weinstein who was on the podcast where he brought he reamed Terrence Howard on his second appearance. But Terrence Howard was talking about the same shit. Not to say that he knew exactly what he was talking about, and he really should have brought Malcolm Bindle or like Marco Rodin or someone else who had more authority to speak about this.
Sure.
He seemed like to want to take the credit for himself, and he didn't know what he was talking about fully. The idea it's really weird how we what did I reference earlier? Sacred geometry is used in this model to explain like basically fucking everything. But the real life verification that there's something there is the thunderstorm generator, and which is, like I said, is being tested all over. There's tons of content being released about it all the time. It's worth checking out. I definitely suggest everyone should check it out. I think it's some evidence, kind of what I was saying earlier, that mainstream science is missing some things. So there's something greater, more significant truth that is being overlooked or even conspiratorially covered up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I gotta piss again. I mean, speaking of just all that, say for example, everything is frequency, and then tuning in and stuff. But like I definitely feel like I believe in it some, and then it's just like, well, why wouldn't you put a little intention into what you're putting into the universe, even if you know it works on a basic level of like going out into the world with a smile and gratitude and envisioning what you want and success. I mean, worst case, it doesn't work and you still worked your ass off and you got it anyway. You know?
So another sort of concept, I don't know even if this is compatible with the plasma unification model. I believe it is, but it's this related to the UFO phenomenon. It's this concept or idea that there's this field consciousness that we're all a part of, and that we're projecting this reality that we're experiencing. But it's like, there's also the integrated information theory, which says that every body of matter, whether it's a rock or a dog or whatever, has consciousness. And so it's like all matter is like conscious and observing itself. So like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Yes, because it's being observed by all bodies of matter at the same time, and it all has consciousness, you know? And that, I mean, I'm still wrapping my head around or trying to understand that, or decide if it makes sense. Well, I'm considering so many different things at once. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm agnostic, so I don't want to say that one thing is true or whatnot. But the UFO phenomenon, which to me really became like real in 2017 when the Navy acknowledged that these two videos were legitimate, and then Luis Elizondo from the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program came public and then started pushing for disclosure. And then you had like To the Stars Academy from Tom DeLonge and all these different things. And more recently you had David Grush. We're about to wrap this podcast up, but this is a whole thing to get into, which we should have got into earlier, but maybe next time, I guess. But there's right now I guess the one thing I really want to say is you should, and everyone should, watch the recent interview with Jake Barber. He did 2 interviews recently, one with News Nation and one with the Jesse Michaels podcast. The Jesse Michaels podcast is actually a little better. He goes into a little bit more detail about some things, but David Grush has worked at the administrative level for the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is a part of the Defense Intelligence Agency. his job was to investigate the UAP phenomenon. And he interviewed 40 different people who had like direct experience and knowledge with the subject through like Area 51 and all these different organizations. But Jake Barber was a helicopter pilot, a security expert, and like team lead for a crash retrieval operation that was funded by different organizations, which I don't think he's talked explicitly. I don't think he can talk about who exactly they were, private and state funded, or at least like black ops funded, you know. But he was literally the guy who would like go out with his team and pick up UFOs that have been downed and then take them back to whatever military base they're going to or shit like that. But this interview is fucking crazy. He's been, as far as I'm concerned, significantly vetted. To verified that he's worked at the places he said he's worked and been a part of the programs that he said he's been a part of. He's been meeting with members of Congress and things like that. He comes through the Disclosure Project, which is, God, this we don't have enough time to get into this, but there's a competing narratives within the disclosure space. The Disclosure Project is one group, and then you have like the Pentagon backed up, like Luis Elizondo and David Grush sort of group, and they're kind of talking shit about each other and claiming that the other one is fraudulent. We're living in an exciting time where I believe that there is, at the bare minimum, some extremely advanced technology that would totally change the way our society and our economy function. That is being withheld from the public. And the whole alien thing may just be a distraction from that fact. That fact is it appears to be 100% legit. I don't know if you've dove into this much.
Not that much. I mean, I am interested. I'll definitely check out that podcast. I listen to fuck tons of podcasts. So just
it's like 3 hours.
It'll be cool to see. Oh yeah, I listen. Fuck, that's all I do is listen to podcasts for the most part. I mean, it's gonna be fascinating just to see what comes out like in our life.
It's supposed to happen this year. This year is supposed to be the year of disclosure. Last year was supposed to be. It keeps there like. There was a National Defense Authorization Act that was passed last year that provided protections for whistleblowers who have signed non-disclosure agreements to come forward. That's why David Grush came forward and why other whistleblowers are coming forward now. Right. But there was other things that were supposed to be included that would have hastened. I think it was that I think this happened partially is that corporations who had non-human technology were supposed to I guess, provide it to Congress. I think that was removed from the act, so that didn't act. Or I think what they said was if it was a matter of national security, they didn't have to share it, and that's like an excuse not to, essentially, under any circumstances that they decide is a national security threat. And there could be real national security threats, like maybe we don't want aliens to know that we know or something, you know what I mean? Or the extent that we know, the extent that we've been preparing for what kind of situation. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about that, and I'm not saying any of that is true, but there could be reasons, national security reasons, for not putting it out there. Or could be that if the technology was revealed to the public, anyone in the country, and the technology may be so easily replicatable that anyone could produce some sort of delivery method for some kind of bomb or something that would be difficult to intercept for security forces. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that we should get into some other time.
Yeah. That's the fun thing about this, just like learning a bunch and your channel is
the AI Music Alchemist. I'll provide you the link and you can share that. Also have a Discord server that's called the AI Music Syndicate. And it's specifically for people who are there's the alarm right there. It's specifically for people who are wanting to we accept people who do prompt based music generation, AI music generation, but we definitely, if you do join this server, I'm wanting to encourage you to learn traditional music production techniques, get a digital audio workstation, and become a real music producer, and combine that with your AI music generations.
I think that's the best. Sweet, dude. I'm excited to see this channel grow.
Yeah, good, man. Excited to see your channel grow too.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.